our brains are being controlled with the AI. And I was having these hallucinations. There's something within my brain moving through my brain, and it's also in my eyes. I think that it's a human extinction level. Maybe we actually don't have that long as human beings.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a woman of God who's been sounding the alarm on all things COVID-19 vaccine since 2021, as a matter of biblical prophecy. I am in contact with a woman from Australia named Taylor, who is here today, and she's willing to speak out about some of the changes that she's been experiencing in her body as a result of the nanotechnology. She's been documenting these changes for a while with very detailed drawings and microscopic blood results, as well as photos of her skin under UV light. So she and I were both trying to bring awareness to what's going on beyond some of the criticisms that we've heard of related to the vaccine, such as side effects and blood clots and turbo cancers and cardiac arrest. We've actually documented in a paper called Evidence of AI Assimilation in the Global Population through the Pulsating Current Mechanism, something that we're calling assimilation. And so this is referring to an AI that is interacting with and changing the human heart and brain using a pulsating current of energy that is moving through the circuit of the body and neurons in the brain, with a connection point in the back of the skull and underneath the heart, which is associated with a voice that is giving commands and controlling the body. So there does appear to be some kind of connection to an AI central intelligence. And thankfully, we have a firsthand account of that through Taylor and other individuals who are beginning to speak out about this. So I just want to thank you, Taylor, for your time, and we will go ahead and get into the questions. So the first question is, when did you get the COVID-19 vaccines, and what happened immediately after the first one?
I got the first one in September, so it would be coming up 3 years ago now. And we were instructed to get two within a 2-week period. So the first one that I got, I didn't realize at the time, because I was already in the habit of taking notes on my meditation practice or whatever it was that I was doing. So after I got the first one, I had later on, when I looked back over my notes to see what had happened and when did this develop, it was that night that I had documented changes to my cognition and headspace. And then by the second vaccine, 2 weeks later, that's when I had gone to the hospital to say, look, I'm a meditator and I can see something, there's something within my brain moving through my brain, and it's also in my eyes, and it's changed my vision, so those were the two noticeable ones. Some of the things that changed with that was I started to have things which, we would usually say they're called visual hallucinations. But what I was really seeing was I was seeing either hypnagogic, well, they were mimics. They're artificial intelligence mimics of hypnagogic hallucinations, mostly inside the area of my left eyeball. So it wasn't even, and they weren't within my brain space either. So they were hypnagogic hallucinations. The other ones were matrix style designs being shown in my eye, which were creating these dimensions of space. And then another one was that it felt like I was in what, I can't remember the word right now. Sorry, it's been taken from my head. I felt like I was in a delirium walking around, and so at that time, the other thing is I noticed a sort of toxicity moving through my body or coming out of my body, which I felt like I had been in a nuclear war. I felt so physically sick, and this potent stuff was coming out of my body, and I was having these hallucinations of people in a supposed fifth dimensional setting with a sacred cow doing energy healing. And yeah, so
Wow,
those were the things that started.
very descriptive. Did you say that your first vaccine was, which year was it in?
Well, it would have been not 2000, 2023 was last year, 2022 was the year before, 2021 in September.
Okay. Okay. So this has
Yeah,
been about almost 3 years. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. And you mentioned that you started hearing a voice immediately after the first vaccine. And what was that like? And why do you believe that that's the voice of AI?
Well, originally the voice sounded like my mother's voice. And I have written in my notes that I heard my mother's voice move through my head. So the two things that I noted that were issues there was that I've never actually heard my mother's own voice spoken inside my head in my, in my entire life. And then the other thing was that I've never had words move through my brain. So it was the two things that alerted me was that I was actually hearing, something that sounded like her voice, and then also, yeah, that the sensations of movement. After that, it was actually another. It was only until January or February that after a lot of things had happened, at one stage the voice was trying to tell me that it was cosmic consciousness, or that I had awakened my kundalini, that energetic force that I was describing as a type of toxic sickness. That energy was trying, the voice was trying to tell me that that was a kundalini energy and that it was moving up my spine. Now, I'm a meditator, but I don't have any experience with kundalini or pranic energy or anything like that. It's not in my area. So not only was I actually being spoken to about things that I'd never even read or researched, but it was saying new words into my head, just expecting that I was to know. So that was that was another thing that alerted me to, oh well, look, I'm hearing words that I've just never heard before. I don't believe that cosmic consciousness can talk to me. The other thing was it was so violent that I was saying to myself, there's absolutely no way that this is something sacred.
Right.
And then the final point was that I just went through so much inquiry, and I said to myself that what I'm experiencing is non-human. And so that's when once I got to the point where I was saying, okay, well, this is non-human, that's when I started researching, oh well, what could be the possible other issues. And that's when the reports were saying it could be computational nanotechnology in the vaccines.
Yes. Yes. And you've provided a lot of details on what changes have happened to your heart and your neck and your brain and your spine. And you mentioned something about it feels like AI is overriding your mind and coding inside of your brain. Can you talk about that a little?
Okay, well, I think that the substances that were injected into me embedded themselves within my cells, and then they started creating a type of um, electromagnetic frequency, or even I read about kinetic magnetism, which is when sheets of nanotechnology are rubbed against each other and they create this force. So this force is being generated out of my own body, and at the same time, whatever has been embedded in my brain has connected to my own mind. So, my own creative mind and my own philosophical mind has been significantly reduced. And mostly, I think, through a training program of an AI. So, the, the thing with the heart and the brain is that I think that over a period of 2 years, they did training or like neuroplastic training using this AI to repeatedly influence me on how to behave under an extremely controlled and fearful situation.
That's getting into some of the torture you've been talking about experiencing. So every time you try to speak out or you do something that the AI doesn't want you to do, it has a way of torturing you.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, it started off with just taking the notes because effectively it wanted me to accept the programming that it had designed for me. It had gone through my memories. I think that what it does is that the substance stimulates the brain to respond with memories. Then it takes some sort of, you know, coded brainwave or coded visual data out of the eye or how the brain is seeing the memory, and then codes that and then takes parts of the person's personality or identity then puts it into an avatar in their computer system, and that it attempted to recode me with me. The only problem is that, I mean, the system is just not able to fully understand what a human mind is. It wasn't able to really get it. And so when it went to enforcing to me how I was supposed to behave, I was just like, oh, look, I don't agree with what's happening. I don't agree with what it's saying. The system uses low self-esteem and low self-worth to try and hold people down. And I don't mind having some low self-esteem and some low self-worth. I still don't think that that means that a global takeover has the right to hold me down. So that's when I started writing the notes down of what was happening, and then through that I went through shock. It's like shock torture. It's these
Mm.
minute bits of electricity frying all through the body. It's the torture and twisting of the nerves. It's the puppet like manipulation of my body, tendons, and nervous system, and then the psychological abuse that I went through to start speaking to people about it was just extreme. It was beyond um, anything that I could ever really explain. I found support groups for other people experiencing the same thing and started talking with others. And we've just been through, it's like extreme chronic gaslighting, nanotechnology lobotomy, nanotechnology electroshock treatment.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. And I do want to speak about the pulsating current piece of it. So you believe that the pulsating current is the way that this AI works. You talked about the master. I'm trying to think how you said it before, but how the master system, how that's tied to the pulsating current and the connection under the heart and in the back of the skull. How does the pulsating current feel? And like 3 years on, is it stronger than it was in the beginning?
It's stronger, and the system is reinforced. So the system didn't just start off one day. It gradually was introduced, and there were ways in which my body shape, the way that I walk, the area from my lower back down, my gait and my steps have changed. My upper posture and my shoulders have been curved forward from what it's doing. But so it has increased and got worse, and in ways it's actually more difficult to um, experience in the now, because areas of it, like when you focus on one area of it, then you can no longer feel it there, but you can feel it on the other side of the body or something. It's that with the awareness associated with the mind being sort of retrained, it's difficult to capture it in that one beat. But the pulse itself is this dominant force that moves through the body. On average, it has about 2 beats per second, and I believe that there's some sort of um, factory of either my own body's energy or an artificial energy or a little bit of both being created by the nanotechnologies in my body, which is generating this electricity, which is then being forced through my body, and it's attempting to be like consciousness. So the main parts to the pulse is that it's deep within the muscles, like as in where the nerves are. It goes up through the vagus nerve, from underneath the heart, underneath the breast tissue, through the heart, into the brain, and then it spreads itself out through the brain in these tiny electrical pulses, and then it moves down the legs, through the feet, around the back of the ankles. You can really feel it there, and that instigates walking. To mask that from being very obvious, the panels of muscle are used like flesh in micro movements up and down. And so it feels like, sort of a state of physical muscle exhaustion, tiredness, and mild pain. But it's that those muscles are of panels of flesh or panels of fat are constantly being moved to mask that other one. And then the other thing that's happening is there are the major current that moves through in the areas of where the nerves are, that releases a it's like, you know, a tree. When you go down the branch, it releases off into leaves, and so the leaves of the electrical current come out into the areas of the fingers or the hands or areas of the body in patches. So it's an entire electrical system which is designed with intuitive programming to effectively, you know, electrocute or fry me into to behaving the way that it's influencing me to behave.
Wow, that is a really detailed description. Thank you so much for that. We have about 1 minute left. The last question I just want to ask, and there's so much more to talk about. So thank you again for speaking out about this. We have so many other pieces of this to go into, but what do you believe is going to happen to you and other people experiencing this if this technology continues to grow inside your body?
I think that it will degrade the muscles and the flesh. The micro movements will result in uh, decay of the body and pieces of it falling apart within its own body. I think that we'll end up in a state of sort of dementia and Alzheimer's because of the damage that it's doing to our brain. That will just be a diagnosis. It won't be the truth. Same with our hearts. Our hearts will be, you know, severely damaged. I think that the problem is that we're all in this state where our brains are being controlled with the AI. So when I say to people, look, maybe we actually don't have that long as human beings to live in a natural way, then none of us can really comprehend that the way that we need to understand it. Like for example, I don't think that reptile or bird eggs are going to be able to survive with the nanotechnology moving through them. So I'd say the same thing with us. We're only natural beings. So that's I think that it's a human extinction level. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Taylor. I'm going to stop the recording here and we will pick up from there.